Hi there, good evening, welcome to News Tonight. My name is Emmanuel, Agyabeng, coming up in the next 60 minutes. Government adjusts cocoa prices to reflect 90% of free on-board price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season in a move aimed at easing deepening liquidity crisis that has left farmers unpaid for months. But the decision is facing pushback from the minority who are demanding the removal of Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Agyabeng. We will explore the details of the producer price and examine government's proposed Cocoa Board bill aimed at implementing sweeping reforms to guarantee fair and sustainable pricing for farmers. Also in this broadcast, President Mahama directs Auditor General to take the necessary and appropriate action following calls for a forensic audit into GBC's finances from October 2019 to date. Business Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman discloses a phased rollout of long-anticipated Women's Development Bank to ensure a smooth and efficient implementation. The details of these stories, including updates from our world of sports and on the foreign front, coming shortly in 60 minutes. Stay with us. We're grateful that you could join us on this broadcast. My name is Emmanuel, Agyabeng, and welcome to this evening's broadcast. We begin with some matters here concerning cannabis, and the acting director of Public Affairs and International Relations, Francis Opoku-Agyeman, says Ghana is set to maximize the benefits of medicinal and industrial cannabis. He emphasized that only qualified entities will be licensed and cultivation will be limited to cannabis with a THC content of no more than 0.3%. Meanwhile, security analyst Emmanuel welcomed the decision as a positive step, but expressed concerns about its implementation, questioning whether NACOC has the necessary equipment and surveillance licenses to ensure effective regulation.
This is a very good policy, but implementation has always been a problem for us as a country. And I think that NACOC had to go back, do stakeholder engagement, let the people that these things are coming to affect know what they are coming to do, and put all the structures and regulatory frameworks in place. Without this thing being put in place, I'm sorry they are jumping the gun, and this thing is going to be another failed political promise. NACOP should never be under the influence of the political authority, where when they think the government will change most of our top hierarchy of the people who man that organization. Same to our investigative bodies. If we really want to put security measures in place to safeguard the sanctity of our democracy. Very good policy, but unfortunately, they have not done their homework.
Let's have a conversation with the Hemp Association of Ghana, who have welcomed government's approval of hemp for cultivation and hemp cultivation for medicinal and industrial purposes. Nana Agyabeng is president of Hemp Association of Ghana. He joins me for a brief conversation, given the concerns raised by security analyst Emmanuel. Nana Agyabeng, sorry, we are grateful that you could join us this evening on the broadcast. The concern raised by the security analysts here really is about surveillance and whether or not we are ready as a country to fully regulate the sector. as an association, do you believe the nation is really ready yet for this?
Good evening, and thank you very much for your invitation, and good evening to all your viewers. Can I also say that there's a terrible reverberation going on there when you're speaking? I don't know if the studio, you can sort that out, please. From what I believe I heard, I saw the tail end of someone talking about us not being ready. And I believe from what you're saying, you're asking me whether or not we are ready. Well, I don't think I can say the nation is ready, because the nation isn't ready. But stakeholders are ready. The Narcotics Control Commission is ready, and the Ministry of Interior is ready. Everyone is very cautious. Everyone is very cautious. And we are aware, even before we got to this point, that there would be a lot of people who will be sending out negative signals about it. I think in the main, the issue is about abusing the cannabis. And I want to make this absolutely clear for you, that no one can abuse industrial hemp with a THC content of 0.3%. It's just not possible. What the law provides for is not recreational cannabis. It's industrial and medicinal, period. That is it. And really, we need to be appearing on platforms like this so that we get the opportunity to educate the Ghanaian populace about what the law provides for. And then to a certain extent, this will temper down the voices of those who do not believe that this can be managed well. Let me be candid with you. I accept that we have several systemic failures that are running concurrently here in Ghana. Let me accept that first and foremost. We do have a problem managing here and there. There's no two ways about it. But I do not believe that what we're about to introduce, and the cautious way that we're about to introduce it, will lead to a mismanagement of the cannabis industry.
Nana Agyabeng, we are grateful that you could speak with us here. We'll come to you later on for more insight on this particular subject matter. He does rightly indicate that 0.3 THC is not cannabis that can abuse, and he believes that much education would have to go into it. He believes that Hemp Association, NACOC as well, is ready to ensure that this becomes a reality. So much education is what he's calling for. And we believe that as and when we are able to get him to have further conversation on cannabis legislation, we'll have a much more broader context of it. That was Nana Agyabeng, who is with the Hemp Association of Ghana. Away from that, aggrieved workers of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation have declared a vote of no confidence in the current management, calling for a forensic audit of corporation's finances from October 2019 to date. The workers are demanding that the Director General steps aside to pave the way for what they describe as an independent and transparent investigation. The joint divisional and management unions warn that the future of the state broadcaster is at risk, citing alleged financial mismanagement, staff victimization, and the prolonged neglect of worker welfare and critical operational needs.
Solidarity forever for the union big and strong. That's one. That's all.
At a press conference in Accra, the aggrieved workers called on appointing authorities to commission an independent forensic audit and ensure that officials whose tenure is under scrutiny step aside to avoid any interference. They are also demanding that the Director of Human Resources proceeds on leave, insisting that due process must be upheld and protected.
In light of the foregoing, we wish to inform the appointing authorities that we have lost confidence in the leadership of the Director General, Professor Amin Hassan, and can no longer work under his leadership. We are also calling for a forensic audit into the finances of the corporation from 1st October 2019, when he assumed office, till date. We are also calling on the Director of Human Resources, Mr. GHOne, to proceed on leave with immediate effect.
According to the unions, their concerns stem from alleged financial malfeasance and poor resource management, including questions surrounding land sales across the country and the controversial 13th African Games broadcast contract, where GBC reportedly earned a fraction of the contract's stated value.
How can you outsource a contract, a main contractor, taking $105,000 out of $3.6 million? What is the terms of contract that you, the main contractor, will outsource more than 90%? Then you don't deserve, you don't qualify. It is only forensic audits that can unveil some of these things. His presence will always interfere. We know what they are capable of doing.
The workers say staff welfare has deteriorated sharply, pointing to unpaid transfer grants, full allowances, medical bills, stalled promotions, staff attrition, and broken down equipment.
It is important to note that several critical issues remain pending at the Standing Joint Committee, including staff promotions, stoppage of salaries, unfair termination of appointment of some workers, enhancement of the provident fund, general staff welfare concerns, management fuel, and conditions of services of management. These matters were expected to have been concluded last year, but remain unresolved.
Following the expiration of a 24-hour ultimatum to management, workers have escalated their protest, wearing red armbands and hoisting red flags nationwide.
We are aware how tools to work with have become a challenge. People walk sometimes from Circle to East. They take the nearest car, Kanishi and 37 before they can reach GBC.
They warn that continued inaction could push the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation towards institutional collapse, further eroding public trust in the state broadcaster. Appealing to the presidency and the National Media Commission, the workers stressed that GBC belongs to the people of Ghana, vowing to remain united and resolute until decisive action is taken.
If you join us, let's go. If you won't join us, step aside. But if you stand in our way, we will crush you. We will crush you.
Well, on the same matter, President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Auditor General to take the necessary and appropriate action on GBC. The directive, contained in a letter signed by Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama, has indicated that following a call by the Workers' Union for a forensic audit into the 13 African Games broadcast contract involving the state broadcaster, which was signed by the Secretary of the Public Service Workers Union, Bernard Agyabeng, the President has conveyed his expectations on the matter for it to be duly reviewed and concluded, and extended his assurances that the Auditor General would consider acting and placing this request in the highest of consideration from the President. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. After this break, we bring you the biggest story of the day concerning the producer price of cocoa, which now is at 90% of the free on-board price. More details shortly. Welcome back from the break. It's now time for the biggest story of the night on Insight. On Insight tonight, we focus on the cocoa sector, where the government has announced what people would see as a reduction in the producer price of cocoa, cutting the price of a 64-kilogram bag from 3,600 cedis to 2,587 Ghana cedis. The announcement was made by the Minister for Finance, Dr. Kasiel Atuba-Forson, following an emergency cabinet meeting chaired by President John Dramani Mahama to address the ongoing crisis in the cocoa sector. The decision comes amid growing agitation by cocoa farmers over government delays in paying licensed cocoa buyers, a situation that has worsened the plight of farmers since the crisis began. Addressing the media, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuba-Forson said Cabinet has directed Cocoa Board to immediately settle all outstanding debts owed to cocoa farmers across the country.
Assess the challenges facing the sector and review the producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop year. In order to cushion the farmer, the PPLC has recommended that the farmer be paid 90% of the achieved gross FOB of $4,200 per ton to mitigate the adverse impact on the farmer as a result of the fall in the world market price. As a result of that, the PPLC thereby announces that effective today, Thursday, 12 February 2026, the new producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season will now be 41,392 Ghana cedis per ton and 2,587 Ghana cedis per bag. This measure has become necessary to reflect the reality of the world market price of cocoa, ensure the injection of immediate liquidity for expedited payment of farmers, and guarantee the sustainability of our cocoa sector. In conclusion, government wishes to convey its sincere appreciation to the Ghanaian cocoa farmer and all stakeholders for their forbearance and sacrifice over the years. Cocoa has always been the mainstay of our economy, and wish to assure them that these reforms will protect the interests of the cocoa farmer and the cocoa sector.
The Finance Minister explained that the reduction is being attributed, as he mentions it, to a drop in international cocoa prices on the market.
A new Cocoa Board bill will be presented to Parliament to implement an automatic adjustment of producer price to align with movement in the world market price, exchange rate, and other key variables, and guarantees a minimum of 70% of gross FOB price to be paid to the cocoa farmer. A new financing model for cocoa purchases and related operations with associated benefit for increased processing will be introduced effective 2026-2027 crop season. The current financing model was invented as a necessity after the syndicated loan failed, after 32 years of successful implementation, and it was proven not to be sustainable. In fact, it has proven not to be sustainable. The financing model is entirely dependent on a buyer's willingness to bear the financing cost and to pre-finance the purchase of cocoa. The key motivation for buyers in the previous season was the rollover contract priced at a rate of $2,661 per metric ton, when the existing market price were above $8,000 per metric ton. Once the gap between the rollover contract and the market price closes, and the majority of the rollover contracts are serviced, the buyer will not be willing to pre-finance the purchase of cocoa crop. Alternatively, the loan model requires that Cocoa Board sells forward most of the raw beans to lock in the contract, which repays the loan and serves as collateral as well. This system did not allow Cocoa Board to optimize prices on the market. In addition, The use of raw beans contract as collateral for the loan meant that Ghana could not optimize its installed capacity for processing.
Said Finance Minister Dr. Kasia Latoba Forsen, indicating that indeed to provide some safety nets for farmers going forward, the new cocoa board bill presented on the floor of Parliament, which will be done soon, would ensure that farmers get minimum 70% of FOB despite what might be the situation on international markets. But reacting to the developments, the Ahafo Regional Chief Farmer Nana Osei Edusa described the decision as worrying but stated that farmers would accept the new price in good faith.
Second, we are going to say, I didn't come back and so, we tell us here, Abruches cano, Senator, and Senator was so. And so, shoot 20 of one, Abruches, Senator Abafom. Sounds so, yes, and 1 year too. Cabrophone 2 months cost, Secas, Papa. Abrufusat out to Abafom. Na amaso koto aje ebo wo me senya sempo maye so na aban koje ebo ketua bi a na obetua ebo kese so ma akuafo so sa amaso boka nti mi de menkwa de a enye dadie no so yebesom sa so nsanse aban no onu ai ne ye ne a na simpenifo nhwe so nti sa aban de ku abonten koto na se wonya ebo kese aman ne a Kani na aborofo aban de call no nya bokese no esa aban ukoton e kokwa abonten aborofo etua bokese amaye na metua boketu amaye tu maye no tu amaye ene wodi koko no kwa abonten onya boketu bi no si onya boketu o tiso amaye dia.
A president of the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association, Samuel Adimado, has assured farmers that all outstanding debts will be cleared.
Farmers should have patience, ask questions. Their leadership will also be engaged. As the minister indicated also, Cocoa Board will be reaching out to the farmers. I don't see any sense in going back for something that did not give you results. But of course, there would always be opportunity to review, to refine. So that is the slots where there is an opportunity. It's a ministry that is more dynamic. It's a ministry that listens. And you are managing people. So when situation changes, you go back and review. So what is more important is that we are going to do a new thing with the highest hope that will address the problems that we ourselves put in or around our neck.
The institution responsible for dealing with farmers and their beans and transporting and the marketing of it, Cocoa Board, has its corporate affairs, Samuel GHOne, saying that they are taking adequate measures to ensure that they stabilize the cocoa sector.
It's quite unfortunate that the price on the international market has significantly dropped. I mean, it is no fault of any of the stakeholders. It is never the fault of government or Cocoa Board, neither is it the doing of the cocoa farmer. But this is pure trading. So if the prices has fallen, there is nothing really that you can do about it, because almost all our neighboring countries have significantly reduced their prices. And it is also important for me to put this on record that in as much as our price has dropped from 3,600 to 2,586, it is still higher than our neighboring countries. Because what the government did was that if the prices today on the international market is hovering around 4,000, 4,001, we are declaring, an achieved FOB of 4,200. And out of this $4,200 per ton, we are giving 90% to the cocoa farmer. If you could remember, as of last year when we were fixing the price, we gave 70%. But because of, the new development, it only makes sense in order to cushion the cocoa farmer. So we decided to give, 90%. But it is also important for us to know that this reduction is in relation to the mopping up of what we are doing, which is about 70, at most 80,000 metric tons that we need to mop up. It is not to suggest it is applicable to the next season that we are going to have.
Let's have a conversation on the latest move by government with the Concerned Farmers Association of Ghana, and Nana Obuadie Boateng Bonsu is the president. Nana Obuadie, good evening. After many calls on the state for action, does this action look positive enough for you?
Yeah, well, point of correction, Farmer General is the name. Farmer General are not part of the working group.
Nanobuadia, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
What I'm saying is the title did not come. We have to add the title is Farmer General and nobody working group.
I missed that one out. Pardon me. Farmer General, let's go. Pardon me on that one. I was asking you about a call on the state to act swiftly on this matter concerning your friends and, in fact, the cocoa industry in the country. Is this move positive enough for you, Farmer General?
Yeah, well, for now, what we say is we are happy that at the end of the day, the price that was there for some years back is still there, and then they are going to pay the farmers with the same price that with the cocoa that Cocoa Board has received. But with the current price that has come, I think it is too early for the concerned farmers to make any statement on that, because we want to move with all the farmer-based organization and then also interact with our farmers for we to come up with a conclusion before maybe Monday, early Monday or Tuesday, we'll come out with a press conference to address the issue.
But on the surface of it, even as you go to look at the matters and engage your fellow farmers, a number of reforms are being taken by this government, where they are mentioning a new Cocoa Board bill to source financing directly from Ghana domestically. They're also looking at ensuring that at least farmers, at whatever international market price, they would have some safeguards and get at least 70% of the free on-board prices. So government is directing Cocoa Board to cut wasteful expenditure. These are moves on the surface of it, one would lot. Before even you go into the deep analysis of what has happened today at the Finance Ministry, do you have any take on the surface of it on just these matters?
Well, I think it is the right position because 80 years now that Cocoa Board came into an existence, and at the end of the day, borrowing is not something that is going to help us. So bringing back the PBC, I think, is a laudable idea that will help us moving forward.
Farmer General, I'm grateful that you could speak with us here on News Tonight. Farmer General is the president of the Concerned Cocoa Farmers Association. He believes that this is a good idea, but the minority in Parliament do not think so. They have strongly condemned the government's decision to slash the cocoa producer price, calling it unfair to farmers and damaging to the sector.
The new managers of the cocoa sector have reset the trading program of Cocoa Board. We used to sell about 70% on forward sales and 30% on spot. They argued that that was an incompetent approach and decided to change it. And now they are selling about 70% on spot. That is why today, as prices have dipped, they are struggling and are saying that the price they had announced ends up being higher than the current prices on the market. That's number one. This action to announce a 28% reduction in the price amounts to a haircut of about 28% on close to 1 million Ghanaian cocoa farmers. Already, when you go into the cocoa growing areas, I was in my areas just a few days ago. A lot of young people are already not going into cocoa because they say the older folk who went into it, they don't see a transformation in their lives. It's left with the old, elderly, poor on the farms. When you do this, what is going to happen in subsequent years is that even those ones will not be going into the cocoa production. If they won't sell their cocoa farms to Galamsey operators, God knows what they will do. All of this has come about because of the reset that Cocoa Board did. And that is why, respectfully, we ask the president to relieve the Cocoa Board CEO of his responsibilities at this point in time.
We were told that the Minister for Finance was coming to announce what they call a restructuring of the cocoa sector. We are very surprised that the minister rather used the opportunity to shortchange cocoa farmers. Before we left government, we introduced a turnaround strategy for Cocoa Board, and we worked on this with the IMF. This strategy was intended to comprehensively restructure Cocoa Board. What is happening today in the cocoa sector is not surprising to us because this government has failed to implement the Cocoa Board turnaround strategy. That is why Cocoa Board is facing these challenges. I heard that the minister is directing to move the cost of cocoa roads to the Ministry of Roads. This measure was in the strategy, the turnaround strategy that we handed over to them. It took them 1 year. They have not implemented it. Only because there is now crisis in the cocoa sector, the minister has rushed to announce this measure, which the minister was well informed about in the strategy for turning around Cocoa Board, which we handed over to them. They were also supposed to legislate a transparent pricing policy for cocoa. They have not done that. They were to remove some cost items which tend to reduce the producer price of cocoa, which we thought were unnecessary and in some cases duplicative. They have not done that. They were supposed to get Cocoa Board to move away from non-core businesses and also to improve on efficiency and reduce costs, particularly in procurement. They have not done that. And so as far as we are concerned, this NDC government did not need to announce any new strategy for restructuring Cocoa Board. And as we expected, they could not announce any comprehensive strategy for restructuring Cocoa Board.
We were able to have a conversation with the minority, specifically the ranking member on the Food, Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee, Honorable Isaac Yao Opoku, but unfortunately, attempts to reach him has failed. That does it for Insight. Stay with us. Farmers within the Wager Irrigation Enclave are calling on the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority and government to urgently intervene over what they describe as increasing encroachment on irrigation lands critical to food production. The farmers say the activities of the encroachers threaten the livelihoods of more than 30,000 farm hands and head farmers, warning that continued inaction could leave them without land to cultivate and undermine efforts to feed the growing population. They are urging the Ministries of Food and Agriculture, as well as Lands and Natural Resources, the National Security, and the Presidency to act swiftly to protect the enclave, insisting they will pursue all lawful means to defend the land, which they see as their primary source of livelihood and key to sustained bumper harvests.
Speaking during a press conference to register their displeasure, the farmers say the activities of the encroachers are steadily reducing the acreage available for cultivation, threatening the livelihoods of more than 30,000 farmhands and head farmers who depend on the enclave for survival. According to them, if the situation is not addressed immediately, there will be little or no land left for food production. A development, they warn, could undermine efforts to ensure consistent bumper harvest and food security.
So we currently have a situation where the originally acquired land of over 13,000 acres has been reduced to a paltry 800 acres. So as we speak, it is only 6% of the original mass of land acquired for irrigation farming which has been maintained or retained by government. And even with that, there are still threats of encroachment, in certain cases aided by officials of the Lands Commission in cahoots with certain well-placed persons using land guards.
Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, GHOne Addison, says the Ministries of Food and Agriculture, as well as Land and Natural Resources, National Security, and the Presidency must step in and protect the land from further encroachment.
GHIDA assures farmers and the public that the authority does not condone encroachment in any form. We will continue to advocate strongly for the protection of irrigation lands in the national interest and call on all stakeholders to respect lawful land use. The future of irrigated agriculture in Ghana depends on our collective commitment to protecting these shared assets.
The farmers insist that as lawful beneficiaries of the irrigation scheme, they will explore every legal means available to defend the land, describing it as their lifeblood and a critical national asset for sustained food production.
For years, the people of Sunyani lived under the shadow of a divided traditional authority, a conflict that stalled development and strained communal bonds. But today, relief, hope, and renewed unity fill the air as a long-standing chieftaincy dispute finally comes to an end.
After years of tension, uncertainty, and stalled progress, peace has finally returned to the Sunyani traditional area. The long-running dispute between the Sunyani Mahini and the Sunyani Mahima, a conflict that had divided the traditional council and weighed heavily on the people, has come to an end. The historic breakthrough followed successful mediation led by the Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, and the Bono Regional Minister, Joseph Adai Akwabua. Under the peace accord, Nana Akosua-Aduah Asor Sika Braye II has been fully reinstated as Queen Mother of Sunyani, restoring her dignity and role within the traditional system. All pending court cases linked to the dispute have been withdrawn, clearing years of legal battles that slowed development. The agreement also firmly affirms the legitimacy of Agyabeng Buahin Koko II as the paramount chief of the Sunyani traditional area, putting to rest questions that had fueled division.
The Traditional Council has reinstated the paramount Queen Mother of the Sunyani traditional area, Nana Akosua-Aduah Asor Sika Braye II. Every neko with the immediate effect, every ya yasa paja na konya no. Adi amano se ono na ye Sunyani hema baako pe one pe bia ni hobiem.
The acting president of the Sunyani Traditional Council, Nana Kweku Sabin Ababio, officially announced the reconciliation, describing it as a landmark moment that reopens the door to unity, harmony, and progress.
We therefore call for unity and peace in Sunyani traditional area. Peace, sir. Now you enjoy. During late Omahini's time, we wanted to continue to be peaceful. Obi biara or how on fantuo.
Bono Regional Minister Joseph Adai Akwabua expressed deep relief, emphasizing that unity between the chief and the queen is vital for the growth of Sunyani, adding that peace at the palace means progress for the people.
Acting President Yadawase, ene nananuma amohwe Sunyani enkonwa saase so aseda kese pa ne yade mamonne sa munyina amama mo ho kwan ama asungwa ye hia wo Sunyani yensa kanenne.
As drums fall silent and courtrooms close, Sunyani turns a new page, one written with reconciliation, cooperation, and renewed hope for the future.
We've got the business brief up next.
The business brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Vice President Professor Nana Jane Agyabeng has disclosed that the long-anticipated Women's Development Bank will be rolled out very soon and in phases to ensure a smooth and efficient implementation. She explained that the progressive rollout will allow authorities to fine-tune processes and address emerging challenges while ensuring that women, particularly market women and small-scale traders, benefit fully from the initiative. She made the announcement during the 65th end-of-year gathering and general meeting with members of the Greater Accra Market Association.
The Women's Development Bank is one of government's backed financial initiatives designed to expand access to affordable credits and tailored financial services for women, particularly those in the informal sector, such as market traders, farmers, and small-scale entrepreneurs. Speaking at the 65th end-of-year gathering and general meeting of the Greater Accra Market Association, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Agyabeng hinted of the rollout of the Women Development Bank.
Na bibi anamon bi a wutu wan tobo no wentu ni ye wan hyehyɛ no ma ye a wan hwɛ ye na nko ye ama wo sese ye du akire pa enti enche bia mobete yenka na eno nso menya nka na nka oba bia benya bi ne mo ma hyase na bia na ama na sa nso munya abotre man ye bɛyɛ no kakra ye no ye bibia progressively.
Professor Agyabeng also used the occasion to urge traders to prioritize sanitation in the markets, noting that clean trading environments are critical to public health and business growth.
The adiba ko mabetena ha emede wo hwe ha obi amfa pepe bi anto fom obi amfa rubber anto fom enwura ngedi gugu ho bebre sa no a emmoayen enwa na bekwa ekoshe yego tanu enwa nso na wanhwe ye a ensuo no kra na aba ye fie enti ebehia ye nyina na nka bebia ye te a ye ton ya de said ya hatie no sa na ho nso te.
Meanwhile, President of the Greater Accra Market Association, Mercy Now Foriwa Nijan, raised concerns about the cost of goods in the market.
We have seen the reduction in fuel prices and the improvement in the value of the cedi against the dollar. However, we are very worried that importers have refused to reduce prices of goods in the markets. And this is affecting our members and consumers.
Ghana's Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Agyabeng, believes the progressive rollouts will ensure operational efficiency and sustainability with a focus on delivering real impacts at the grassroots level.
That's it for the Business Brief here on News Tonight.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
As anticipation builds ahead of Sunday's highly super clash at the Babayas, Association has appointed experienced referee Daniel Lai to officiate the crucial encounter. With both sides currently sitting in the top 5 of the Ghana Premier League table, the fixture is expected to be fiercely contested. Lai, one of Ghana's top referees, takes charge of the game following his impressive performance in the 25 African semi-final clash between Nigeria. The seasoned official is now assignment as he oversees one of the biggest fixtures in the domestic league calendar. League, and for the second consecutive season, Barcelona will take on Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey. Meeting between the two sides in a competition produced in dramatic 9-goal thriller across both legs. Speaking at his pre-match conference, the Barcelona gaffer confirmed that the team will be without Marcus Rashford and Rafinha for the clash. He also praised Atletico Madrid's impressive performance in the quarterfinals, where they displayed dominance against Real Betis.
Of course, how you saw it before in the training, Marcus is not able to play. He got a hit, and so it's painful, and we have to take care about this. I think this is not the good news, but at the end, I believe in my team. Always when it's like this, the situation is.
If you've ever fallen in love, chances are that you must have been inspired by a love song. Maybe not. Well, from the soft strum of high-life guitars to smooth Afropop melodies and heartfelt hip-life verses, our artists have always known how to capture the language of love. These were not just songs, they were soundtracks to first crushes, secret admirers, long-distance relationships, wedding dances, and those late-night phone calls that lasted till dawn. In the spirit of Valentine, let's take it back to the tracks that made us believe in love, the classics that had us in our feelings, the anthems that defined an era, and the love bangers that still hit the same way years later.
Music expressed through melody, poetry, rhythm, and soul. Over the years, several remarkable
If she better was the order of those days, that would have been what would have been used in a particular video there by Samini featuring Kwabena. What was the other way around? Kwabena featuring Samini. Well, it's time for us to bring you some international news. The African Union Security Council has condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland, describing it as a violation of Somalia's sovereignty. In a statement on Thursday, the Council strongly rejected the unilateral move and called for its immediate reversal. Israel became the first country to officially recognize Somaliland as an independent state on December 26 last year, a decision widely criticized by the African Union and nearly all Arab nations. In response, Somalia cancelled a military agreement with the UAE, which controls Berbera port in Somaliland, while signing new defense deals with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and welcoming the deployment of Turkish fighter jets on its territory. That does it for the entire broadcast. We are grateful that you joined us on this evening's edition of News Tonight. My name is Emmanuel Agyabeng. On behalf of the entire production, led by Stella Butcher, we say thank you for watching. Directed by Melissa. Have a wonderful evening.